Very good afternoon, all of you. Welcome to the today's section. As yesterday we have seen some particular basics of matrices. Most of them we have come across, but we have seen in a different perspective. And towards the end of the section, we have also seen a particular form of a matrix called echelon matrix, echelon form of a metric. It is a generalization of upper triangular metric. Okay, so a metric, any metric is said to be in the echelon form. It should satisfy two conditions. Only two conditions. The first condition is, suppose if there are 0 rows, any metric. It need not be a square metric. It can be any metric. Okay, and if there is a complete row with all the entries are 0, a row in which all the entries are 0, generally we call them as a 0 rows. Okay, so all the 0 rows, how many are there? Whatever the number it is. Okay, all the 0 rows have to be at the bottom of the metric. Okay, as the last rows. And the second condition is related to the non-zero rows, in which we are mainly emphasizing about the leading non-zero entry of that rows. Okay, what should happen? The leading non-zero entries always should be towards the right of the previous leading non-zero entry position, not even the below. It has to be strictly right side of the preceding leading non-zero entry. Okay, we have seen some examples also. Here there is one correction I have made. This is yesterday I said all the diagonal, most of the diagonal matrices will be in the echelon form. But to be exactly what you can say, all the diagonal matrices which are non-singular. Non-singular means none of the diagonal entry is 0. All the diagonal entries are non-zero only. Okay, so they will be those matrices will be in the echelon form. And of course, all the upper triangular matrices are also will be in the echelon form. Okay, and we have also seen, we have also defined what we call the pivots. Pivots of an echelon form. What are the pivots of an echelon form? In every non-zero row, there is something called leading non-zero entry. Leading non-zero entry. What is the leading non-zero entry means? The first non-zero number of that row coming from the left to right. The count starts from the left to the right. Okay, so those numbers are called the pivots of the echelon metric, and the number of pivot elements of a metric is called the rank of that metric. Rank of the metric. And it is also said yesterday that every matrix can be converted, can be transformed to an echelon form. The algorithm that how to convert, how to transform a given metric to an equivalent echelon form, equivalent metric which is in the echelon form, that we are going to see now with the help of the elementary row operations. Okay, and at the same time, for a given metric, there will be more than one echelon forms will be there. Okay. This is on what we have seen. Now let us see another form of a matrices. Yesterday what we have seen, this is the echelon form of a metric. Okay, so basically here we need to focus only about the number of non-zero. We have to look at the non-zero zero rows, and about we have to check the leading coefficients. Okay, and then what we meant by row canonical form. The row canonical form means first thing, the metric should be in the echelon form. First thing, the metric should be in the echelon form. Further, it should also have some more additional two more properties. What are the two more properties? The first thing is, we said now in every echelon form there are something called pivots. There are something called pivot elements. Now, what about the in the row canonical form? All the pivots elements has to be equal to 1, exactly equal to 1. What you have to do after converting all of them, after converting any metric to an echelon form, what you can do it, you can identify what are the pivot elements, And what you can do it, you can multiply, you can divide with the same pivot element, that particular row. The particular row can be replaced by multiplying with the 1 upon the pivot element. Okay, that comes as an E2. E2 means elementary row operation 2, multiplying a given row with a non-zero scalar. Okay, so in that, if you apply E2, then what you will get? You will get all the leading entries will become 1. Okay, so echelon form, and then we will divide the pivot element. We will make the all the pivot elements as 1. Okay, then what is the additional condition? Each pivot element is the only non-zero entry in its column. Suppose you look at here in the previous example. In the previous example, this 5 is the second leading entry, second pivot, I can say. Okay. Now, what we have to identify, we have to see here. This is the pivot entry in this second pivot entry. Now, you have to look at this column. In this column, what the fourth condition needed? Each pivot is the only non-zero entry in its column. Means here 2 should not be there. Here 2 should become 0. So you should make 2 as a 0 with the help of the row operations. Okay. Now coming to the another pivot element. This is 6. First thing, 6 should be converted to 1 by dividing with the 6 R3. Okay. And then in this column, how many non-zero entries should be there? There should be only one non-zero entry. That has to be the pivot element. So for example, this is 0 and this is 0, and here 3 is a non-zero number. 3 should not be there. And what you have to do? You have to make 3 as 0 with the help of the row operations. With the help of the row operations. Okay. How many pivot elements are there? Here there's -1, 5 and 6. In the first leading entry, it is -1. Now, what about the elements in this? What about the remaining entries in this column? It is already 0. It is already 0. Okay. So, then if it satisfies 2 more additional conditions after converting into the echelon form, then we will say that the given metric is in the row canonical form. Okay. For example, what are the row examples of a row canonical form? Geometric. Any geometric of any order. Okay. Geometric of any order, we can call it is in the row canonical form. Why? Because the first thing you need to understand here, assume that this is a geometric of any order, let us say m by n, all the rows are 0 only. First thing, all the entries are 0 only. Okay. Now, what about whether it is in the echelon form? Of course, it is in the echelon form. Whatever the 0 rows are there, all of them are below only. In fact, there are no non-zero rows. Okay. Second condition, whether the leading coefficient in a row is whether it is towards the right of the previous leading coefficient. Since there are no leading coefficients, since there are no leading non-zero entries, that condition trivially holds. Okay. Now, third one, each pivot should be equal to 1. What are the pivots for a geometric? There are no pivots. In fact, there are no non-zero rows, and hence there are no pivots. So 3 also trivially holds. Now, what about the 4? Each pivot is the only non-zero entry in its column. All the columns are 0 only. So in fact, there is no pivot. So and hence there is no need to check the fourth condition also, and hence fourth is also trivially holds. So any geometric of any order trivially satisfies all the conditions to be in the row canonical form. So this can be given as one of the examples. Now, what about the identity? What about the diagonal metric? What about the diagonal metric? Let me take this metric. 1, -1, 1. Sorry, we said diagonal metric, right? Okay. 1, 0, 0, 0, 2, 0, 0, 0, 3. Now, whether is it in the row canonical form? To be in the row canonical form, first thing you should be in the echelon form. It should be in the echelon form. Okay. So whether is it in the echelon form? Look at what is the first condition. The first condition is any 0 rows should be at the bottom. There are no 0 rows. Fine. Okay. And then second condition is regulated to the leading non-zero entries. Leading non-zero entries, this is 1. For this row, this is 2. And for this row, it is 3. So 2 is towards the right of 1 and 3 is towards the right of 2. So second condition also satisfied. Look at the third one. So it is in the echelon form. Whether is it in the row canonical form also? Check. Third condition, each pivot should be equal to 1. This is one pivot. It is equal to 1. And this is the second pivot is 2. Okay, it is not equal to 1. So this metric in this form itself, it is not in the row canonical form. Okay, but what you can do with the help of the row operations, you can transform the metric to row canonical form. That's what we will see. But let us understand the row canonical form with the example. So this is not in the row canonical form because the third condition is violated. Now look at the identity metric of order of any order. So 1, 0, 0. Maybe let us take fourth order. 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. This is 0. Okay. Sorry, this is 1 and okay. Now what about this one? Whether is it in the row canonical form? Of course, yes. You can check on your own. First thing, it is in the echelon form, and each pivot entry is equal to 1, and not only 1. This is the first pivot entry, and in this column, there are no other non-zero entries in this column. This is the second pivot entry, and if you look at in this column, that is the only non-zero entry. Remaining all other entries are 0. And in this column, this is the only non-zero entry, and there are no other non-zero entries. Remaining all are 0 only. And the same time, similarly, this is also. Okay. Now let us take this example. Let us take this one. 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, and let me take this is also 1. Okay. Now you check whether it is in the row canonical form or not. It is in the row canonical form. First thing you have to check, it should be in the echelon form. 0 rows. If there are any, they should be at the bottom. Yes, there is only 1 0 row is there, and it is at the bottom. Second condition regarding the leading non-zero entries. So this is leading non-zero entry for the first row. This is leading non-zero entry for the second row. This is leading non-zero entry for the third row, and fourth row is the zeroth row. So there will be no leading non-zero entries. Okay. Now whether each leading non-zero entry, whether it is towards the right, of course, this is towards the right of this one, and this is towards the right of this one, previous leading non-zero entry, and hence the second condition is also satisfied. So this metric is in the form of echelon metric. It is in the echelon form, right? Now whether it is in the row canonical form also, what is the additional conditions? Additional conditions, each pivot entry should be equal to 1. This is pivot, that is equal to 1. This is also pivot, that is equal to 1. This is also pivot, that is equal to 1. Fine. Third condition is also satisfied. Now what about the fourth one? What about the fourth one? The fourth one is each pivot is the only non-zero entry in its column. So this is you take the What? You take the first leading non-zero entry, that is 1. So in the column in which it is, remaining all other entries should be 0. It should be the only non-zero entry. So remaining all should be 0. In the second leading non-zero entry also it is satisfied. In the third column also it is not third column. This is the third non-zero entry, and in its column, remaining all are 0. Now what about this one? What about the last row? What about the last row? Do we need to check the last? Sorry, do we need last column? Do we need to check the last column? Do we need to check the last column?
No, sir.
Please give your answers in the chat box. Okay. So here you no need to check this column. Why? Because in this column actually there is no pivot entry is there. So the fourth condition you need to check only for the columns in which there is a pivot entry. Okay. So and hence what will happen? This is also in the row canonical form. This is also in the row canonical form. Okay. So this can be given as an example for the, this also can be given as an example for a row canonical form. Now the next thing is, next example, I think we have enough. I think by this time you might have understood. Now the question is, anyone have any doubt in understanding the echelon form and row canonical form? Please reply in the chat box if you have any doubts. Fine. So now we will proceed further. So the next, so what is next? The next one is we have seen that we have seen what is something called what is an echelon form and what is a row canonical form. Now, in the meanwhile, we have also mentioned every metric can be transformed to an echelon form, and further every metric can be transformed to row canonical form also. It can also be done only with the help of elementary row operations. Okay. So Sridarshan asked, please explain the last part. So what is the last part? I think this is the last part. So you look at the fourth statement, fourth condition. What is the fourth condition? Why I have mentioned 3, 4? Because it is in the echelon metric already 1, 2 is there, 1 and 2. So that is the reason. 2 for better understanding, I read 3 and 4. Okay. The fourth one is each pivot is the only non-zero entry in its column. For this metric, for the last metric, what are the pivot entries? What are the pivot entries? This is one pivot entry, this is another pivot entry, and this is another pivot entry. Okay. In the last row, do we have any pivot entries? No, we do not have any pivot entries. Okay. So the fourth condition, we need to check only for the columns in which there is a pivot entry. Okay. For example, in this column, yes, there is a pivot entry, and hence we need to check here. We need to check in this column. Okay. Pivot entry should be the only one non-zero entry. Remaining all other entries should be 0. And in the second column, in this column, there is a pivot entry. The second entry is 1. That is a pivot entry. Pivot element. Okay. And the remaining all other elements are 0. And similarly, in this column also there is a pivot entry, pivot element. That is also 1. And remaining all are 0. Now in this column, there is no pivot entry, and hence you no need to check the fourth condition. Whether 0 is a pivot entry? No. Whether 1 is the pivot entry? No. Pivot element? No. Whether this one is the pivot element? No. This is not. This is, and the last one is also not the pivot element. No. And hence you no need to check the fourth condition for the last column for this particular metric. For this particular metric, remember that. Okay. Now the question comes, how we are going to transform a given metric how we are going to transform a given metric to what? To an echelon form or to a row canonical form. So let me call the problem one. The problem one is what? Transformation of a metric to an echelon form. This is something called forward elimination only. There is only forward elimination. You will understand why we are calling it as forward elimination. Okay. So for this algorithm, you don't need to write what is the exact algorithm, but those who are interested in programming, those who knows, they can do it. Okay. If they want, I will also help. Okay. It is the procedure. It is written stepwise procedure. Okay. You have to follow this stepwise procedure only. But if you follow some other procedure, if you don't follow this algorithm, what will happen? The solution will become lengthy, too much lengthy. Sometimes you may not end up with the solution. But if you follow these steps exactly, one after the other, in the same order, then what will happen? The solution will come little earlier than the doing it normally without any algorithm. Okay. So the first thing, the transformation of a metric. So what is the input? Input, we will give any metric. We will give metric of any order. First, that is given to us. What should be the output? As you can see, the output should be in the echelon form, which is basically what? It is basically row equivalent. Row equivalent to given metric. Row equivalent to given metric. Why? Because we are doing only elementary row operations only. So whatever the output is there, it will be row equivalent to the given metric. Okay. Now, what is the first step? The first step is find the first column. First column in the sense I didn't mean C1. Here, the first column doesn't mean the first column C1. First column with a non-zero entry, that is to be identified first. So let us understand the procedure along with the example. For example, consider this one. Consider this metric. Let me use this pen. Consider this metric. Maybe 0, 0, 1, -1, and then 0, 1, maybe 2. And then maybe 1 again, and then 0, -1, 0, 2. Let us take this metric of order 3/4. This is the given metric. Assume that this is the metric we have given. Now, what we need to find out, the first step. The first step is we need to find the first column with a non-zero entry. If you look at this metric, you look at the first column, whether the first column, does it have any non-zero entry? No. There is no non-zero entry in the first column. Okay. Starts from C1. Starts from C1 represents the first column, the regular column which is at the beginning of the metric. Okay. Now, next thing what we need to do, we need to go for the second one. So what is that one? So you look at this one. Yes, the second column have some non-zero entry. Yes, fine. Okay, we have identified, and we have to represent. That is what we call say Cj, the jth column. So this is actually C2. Okay. Now what we should do? We have identified first in the step 2. Interchange the rows so that the non-zero entry appears in the R1 at Cj. R1 means first row. Cj means the jth column. Pivot on the first row. It has to be in the first row. So here we have identified. So what are the non-zero entries? Here, this is one is a non-zero entry. -1 is a non-zero entry. What we need to do with the help of the elementary row operations, we need to bring this one in this position. In the first row, we need to make it. In the first row, we need to make it. Okay. Now, whether we need to take second row as the second row to the replace the interchange the first and second rows, or interchange the first and third rows. You can do anything. It is not necessary that you have to do only the second row, or you have to interchange only the first and second, or you have to interchange only the first and third. You can replace the first row with either R2 or R3. That is your choice. Okay, but to follow uniformly, what we will do, we will look at the row wise also. We will follow the order. Since this is this is the one immediately we are getting. So we will replace, we will interchange R1 and R2. So after interchange, what we obtain 0, 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 1, minus 1, 0. What about R3? R3 will remain the same, right? So it has been changed. Okay. Now, so the second step is also done. Now step 3. By applying E3, make all the below entries as 0. Below entries of what? There is a first pivot entry we have made now. So if you look at, this is the this is what? This is a non-zero row, first row. We made this in this first column. We have all other zeros, and then we have identified. We have made this one as the pivot entry. Okay. Now what we have to make below this one, below that pivot and first pivot entry, we have to make all the entries as 0. So below this one, it is already 0 is there. So there is no change. Now this one we need to make it as 0 with the help of what? With the help of E3. E3 means multiplying a row and adding to the given row itself. So basically here what we need to do, the it is basically R1 plus R3 replaces R3. So what metric you will get here? First row, no change. Second row, no change. Third row, it will give 0. This will become 0, and this will become what? 2, and this will become 3. You have to correct me if I have commit any mistake. Okay? Why? Because even if you commit a plus or minus mistake also, it will lead to a huge problem. Okay. So this step is also done. This step is also done. We can say the 3 steps, whatever we have done, can be combined. It is actually we have crossed one level. We have finished one level, the first 3 steps. Now you look at the step 4. Now for some step 4 onwards, what? We have to repeat the same procedure. Step 1 to step 3, step 1 to step 3. Okay. Now in the step 4, what we need to do? Excluding the first row. The first row is now excluded. Okay, we have to only do the step 1 to step 3. Step 1 to step 3 for the remaining rows. Well, now again we go back to the step 1. Now in this one, what you need to do here? This is already 1 as the pivot element is there. In the second row, if there is any pivot element, it has to be what? It has to be towards the right. That is the reason we made all the below entries as 0. That was the reason. Okay. So in the second row, first thing what we need to do? We need to find the first column with a non-zero entry. So this one already 0, 0. Now in this column there is a non-zero entry. In fact, it is already there. It is already non-zero entry. So the first step is not required. Now what about the second one? If first step is not there, then obviously second step there is no need to interchange. Third one, by applying E3, make all the below entries as 0. So what is this? This is the second pivot element. And now what we have to do? We have to make with all the below entries as 0 with the help of E3. So what is the elementary operation? 2 times R2, sorry, minus 2 times R2 plus R3 replaces R3. Then what is the after applying this elementary row operation? What we will get? 0, 1, 2, 1, and then second row no change. Second row we are not doing anything. The only effect is on third row. So what is happening here? It is 0 and it is also again 0. Now it will become 0 now, and minus 2 times R2, so minus into minus plus 2 plus 3, so that is 5. Now could you please give your opinion, could you please give your observation whether the final output, whether is it in the echelon form or not? Whether is it in the echelon form or not? You have to participate in the class. You are not here to just listen. Everyone. So this is in the echelon form. So once we reach the echelon form, we can stop the procedure. Continue until a submat. There is something called continue until a submatrix has only non-zero rows. But fortunately, we have reached the towards the end of the metric from the forward from the top to bottom. And in fact, we have not reached. We didn't get any zero entries. But we have already received the echelon form. And hence, this is the echelon form of the given metric. This is one of the echelon form. Suppose, okay, so this is one of the echelon form. Okay, so stop it here. Can you give me the another echelon form? What I will do, you know, I will do 1 by 5 times R3 replaces R3. Then I will get another form. This 5 will become now 1. That is also an echelon form of the given metric. What I will do, sometimes I will do minus 1 times R2 replaces R2. In that case, here minus 1 will come and here plus 1 will come. That is also an echelon form of the given metric. But that is not required. Once you receive some echelon form, you can start the procedure. Okay, this is the final output. Okay, I hope you understood how to convert, how to transform a given metric to an echelon form. Okay, this is the procedure you need to follow. Okay, now let us move to the another procedure. Do anyone have doubts regarding this one? If you have any doubts, please raise your hand. In this algorithm. Okay. Now we will proceed to the another problem. So the another problem is, next problem is how to transform a given metric to the row canonical form. Okay, here as I said, the Gaussian elimination, this process is called the Gaussian elimination. Okay, that too, the problem 1 means transforming a given metric to an echelon form is called the forward elimination only. Why? Because forward elimination, forward in the sense starting from the top row, we are going down. Okay, this is only one way. This is here, that is means forward. Forward means from the top to bottom. Okay, and then let us move to the another problem. The next one is called transformation of a metric to the row canonical form. There is something row canonical form. Row canonical form means what? There is another two conditions also should be satisfied, right? It should be all the pivots should be 1. Not only that, the pivot, all the columns in which pivots are there should be no other non-zero entries. All other entries should be 0 except the pivot. Okay. Now, so this process is generally called forward elimination and then backward elimination. Okay, as I said, row canonical form means first thing it should be in the echelon form, and hence if the problem is given to you and asking you to transform the given metric to a canonical form, then what you have to do? First thing you have to do the previous procedure. Previous procedure means first convert the given metric to echelon form. And then after converting to the echelon form, we have to start this procedure. Okay. Now what is this? So for better understanding, I'm continuing with the same example. Okay. So now suppose that this is the metric given to us for the problem 2, and now it is asked you to transform to the row canonical form. Then what you have to do? First thing we have to do row canonical, convert it to the echelon form. This is what the echelon form. So let me rewrite the echelon form here. Let me rewrite the echelon form here. So what is the echelon form here? 0, 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 1, minus 1, 0, 0, 0, 5. Okay. This is the echelon form. So forward elimination is done. Observe here. First we have to do what? First we have to do the forward elimination. After completing the forward elimination, what we have to do? We have to do the backward elimination. Okay. Now, suppose if first after converting to the echelon form, sometimes what may happen, you may have some 0 rows at the bottom. 0 rows might be there, right? Sometimes in some examples you may receive it. Okay, you may get it. Then in that case, what you have to do by applying E2 to the last non-zero row, understand? So when after transforming to the echelon form, sometimes there may be some 0 rows. Okay, but you no need to worry about the 0 rows. What you have to start with for the row canonical form, you have to start with the last non-zero row. Last non-zero row, and make pivot as 1. What is the in the last non-zero row, 5 is the pivot element, and what you have to do? We have to make it 1. So what we have to do? 1 by 5 times R3 replaces R3. Thus, what you will get? First row no change, 0, 1, 2, 1, and then 0, 0, 1, minus 1, and then 0, 0, 0, 1. Fine. Right? Understood? Any doubt? Okay. Now, okay, we have done. Now, what is the another procedure? Step 2. Using E3, make all the entries above the last pivot as 0. Now, what is the last pivot? Here actually 0, 0, 0, this is not there. This is just taken to explain only. Okay, it is not there. This is not there. Okay. Now what is the step 2? The step 2 is the step 2 is what happened? Yeah. The step 2 is what? Here, using E3. E3 means multiplying a row and adding to itself. Okay. Make all the entries above the last pivot as 0. So what is the last pivot entry here? This is 1. So all the above entries should make it 0. Then only we can call it as a canonical form, right? So what we have to do, here we can do 2 row operations simultaneously. That is R1, minus what we need to change? R1 should be changed and R2 should be changed. So minus R3 plus R1 replaces R1, and then R3 plus R2 replaces R1. So with the help of those 2 elementary row operations, what you will get here, as you can see that here, most of the things will not be affected. 0, 1, 2, now it will become 0. And then 0, 0, 1, and then it will also become 0. and then 0, 0, 0, and then it is 1. Done. Okay. So similarly, we can consider this is here one. We have reached one level, got finished. Now what we have to do? We have to repeat the same thing till we reach the canonical. What is the step 2 here? The step. What is the step 3? Repeat step 1 for the second last pivot entry. So this is the last pivot entry. What is the second last pivot entry? Second last pivot entry is 1. Fortunately, it is already 1. So there is no need to apply E2. Generally, what we need to do? By applying E2, we need to make the pivot as 1, right? But fortunately, we already received 1. Suppose if it is some 2, we have to divide with 2. Suppose if it is 1 by 2, we have to multiply with 2. Yeah. Using E2, we have to make it 1. But there is no need. So step 1 is already done. Step 2, using E3, make all other entries above the last pivot as 0. We no need to look at the below. We don't need to worry about the below. Why? Because below already will be 0 because of the echelon form. Because of the echelon form, the below entries, the entries below the pivot elements are already 0. So this is what we call forward elimination. Forward elimination is already done. Now only we have to do the backward elimination. Backward elimination means from the last row to the top. Only in one direction only we need to do it or do the procedure. No need to jump top to bottom. Now what we have to do? Only now R1 should be changed. R1 should be changed with what? Minus 2 times R2 plus R1 replaces R1. Thus, what you will get? 0 is not affected, 1 is not affected, it became 0, it became 0, already 0. So 0, 0, it is already, it is 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. Right. Now, third step is also done. So second level got finished. For every level means one level got finished means we have done the procedure for one pivot element. Remember that. So now we have to repeat again. What we have to repeat? Repeat step 1 for second last pivot entry. Okay, that is done. Using E3 second, that is done. Repeat until first pivot element equals to 1. Now what is the first pivot element? First pivot element is already 1. First pivot element is already 1. We are lucky. No need to apply any row operation. Okay. Now, what we need to do? Backward elimination. Above this pivot element, we should be all the remaining entries should be 0. But in fact, there are no other rows above this pivot element because this is the first pivot element. Can you tell me whether this is in the row canonical form? So basically, we have reached row canonical form. Whether everyone agrees with that? Everyone understood how to convert a given metric to how to transform to a row canonical form? Look at this complete unit based on this elimination process only, Gaussian elimination or some other elimination, but the procedure is almost the same. Right. So I will stop the this example also here. Now let us move to the another elimination. So these two problems are generally called Gaussian elimination. In the Gaussian elimination, there is something called two subcategories, that is called making the metric to an echelon form, and there is another problem, that is making a metric, transforming a metric to row canonical form. Gaussian echelon form means forward elimination only. Row canonical form means forward, first you finish the row elimination, forward elimination, and then you have to start the backward elimination. Okay. So now there is one more elimination process, that is what we call the Gauss-Jordan elimination. What is the Gauss-Jordan elimination? Here the problem is something like the problem is Gauss-Jordan elimination, transformation of a given metric to the row canonical form. Problem is same. We have to transform the given metric to row canonical form only. Problem is same, but the elimination process is different. The algorithm is different here. What here we have to do? Forward elimination and backward elimination. Both we have to do simultaneously. Both we have to do simultaneously. Okay. So let us take the same example. Means the first matrix which we have started with. So 0, 0, 1, minus 1. This is what we call the Gauss-Jordan elimination. 0, 0, 1, minus 1. 0, I think 1, and then 2, I think 1. It is 0, I think it is 1, and I think it is 0, and this is 2. Or I done any mistake? Yeah, 0, minus 1, 0, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, right. So this is the metric we have started. We have already transformed to echelon form, and then row canonical form also we have already converted. Right? Row canonical form also we have converted. Now there is this elimination process is different. We are the problem is same. We have to convert into the row canonical form only, but the algorithm is different. Let us see what is the algorithm first. First step: find the first column with a non-zero entry, same as the problem 1. In the first column, all the entries are 0. So this is not useful. But if you look at the second column, yes, in the second column, there is a non-zero entry is there, 1 and minus 1. In fact, 2 are there. What we need to make, since in this column C2, there is a non-zero entry, what you should make in the R1, at this position, R1, C2. R1, C2. Okay. We should make this as a non-zero entry. So the process is same. As I said, we can take R2 to the first row, R3 and R1 can be interchanged. Anything can be done. So here, to make it uniform, since immediately we received R2, so R2 interchanges with R1. So 0, 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 1, minus 1, 0, minus 1, 0, 2. Right. Interchange the rows so that the non-zero entry appears in the R1 at Cj. This is, we have interchanged R1 and C2. Right? Right. Step 3. Apply E2 and make the first pivot as 1. We are very lucky. First pivot is already 1. Why? Because if you remember, the third condition for the row canonical form is all the pivot entries has to be equal to 1. Okay. So interchange the row so that the non-zero entry appears 1, and then first pivot is already 1. Okay. This is done. After making pivot as 1, then by applying E3, make all other entries in the same column as 0. All other entries in the same column as 0. Whether it is above the pivot element, whether it is below the pivot element, doesn't matter. Everything we need to do simultaneously. That is forward elimination and backward elimination both together. Since we are in the first row, there are no above rows. This is the pivot element, and there are no other above the pivot element. Only below are there. In the below also, this element is already 0, so no need to change. Only this element is a non-zero entry. This one we need to change. So what we will do? We'll make R3 is changed. How? R1 plus R3 replaces R3. So what is the metric in this case? You will get 0, 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 1, minus 1, 0. This will become 0, and this will become 2, and this is 3. Right. Okay. So again, we have completed one level. Means the procedure for correspond to the first pivot element is done. Now second pivot element. What is the second pivot element? Second pivot element here is 1. Second pivot entry is 1. Second pivot entry is already 1. Okay. But if it is some another value, suppose if it is -1, then what you need to do? You should make it 1. You should make it 1. Okay. But at the same time, in some scenario, suppose you assume that you might have after the first level, you might have received. Assume that you received this metric. You received this metric. Okay. So the first level got done. Now, may you know what we have to? Can anyone answer what you need to do? Suppose if this is the metric. If this is the metric, first thing what we should do now? May you know? Nirbhav Singh said R3 plus R2 is equal to R2. No, Nirbhav, no. R2 becomes R3. Yes, Sharon. Sharon Balasubramanian said right. Here, what we need to do? In the second row, this is the first pivot entry, first row, this is the pivot entry, it is already done. Okay. Now, in the second row, what basically you need to do? The algorithm says, actually, now you can forget about the first row for the time being. Now, in this column 0, in this column also 0, in this column there is a non-zero entry. There is a non-zero entry here, 2 is there. Now, what you should do? You should make this non-zero entry in the second row. So, what basically here you have to do? R2 interchanges with R3. Remember that. R2 interchanges with R3. This is what you have to do. It is not R3 plus R2 is equal to R2 Nirbhav. That may give the solution, but it will take a lot of time later. Okay, it will affect the system. It will affect the cost of the computation. Remember that it is not the manually for understanding the algorithm we are doing it. But mostly when I gave some 100 by 100 metric and I asked the system to do this row canonical form, so it will affect the cost. Cost will become more if you do not follow the algorithm, and sometimes the program may get crashed. Okay, so that is what we have here. That is what you need to understand here. We have to just interchange. We need to just interchange if that is the situation. Now, sorry, I'm taking just 5 more minutes more because I need to complete this elimination process. I cannot stop in between. So anyway, now the thing is here, we are lucky, and in fact, in the second pivot element is already in the position where it should be. Not only that, it is already equal to 1. It is already equal to 1. So in fact, we have almost reached step 3 again. Now what we need to do? We need to make the all other entries as 0. All other entries means whether it is below the pivot element or whether it is above the pivot element, doesn't matter. Both should be done together. So in this column, this is the pivot entry, and remaining other entries should become 0. So we should make this entry as 0, and we should also make this entry as also 0. So what we need to do? R1 should be changed, and at the same time R3 also should be changed. How? What we need to do? -2 times R2 plus R1 replaces R1, and -2 times R2 plus R3 replaces R2. Then what you will get? Then you will get 0. 1 not affected, it will become 0. Now what about this one? -2 minus 1, so it will become 2. 2 plus 1, so it is 3. Correct me if I have committed any mistake. This is 0, this is 0, this is 1. In fact, R2 is not changed. R3 is changed. -2 times R2 plus R3. So this is 0 and this is 0. This becomes 0 now. And then -2, so -2 minus 1. What is that? 2 plus 3, so it will become 5. Done. So step 3 is also done. Okay. Now, what we need to do? We need to do again repeat the process. So second level also done. Second level means the procedure regarding the second pivot element is also done. Now we need to identify the next pivot element if there is any. Suppose if it is already equal to 0, assume that this is already equal to 0. Then our job is done. Now it is in the row canonical form. That's all. It is already done. But here we didn't get here it's 0. There is some non-zero entry is there. Non-zero entry is what? Here it is 5. So in the third row, the pivot entry is 5. First thing what we should make? We should make R3. Sorry, R3 should be replaced by 1 by 5 times R3. Why? The pivot entry should become 1. Pivot entry should become 1. So what we have done? 0, 0, 0, 1. 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay. And then basically I'm just skipping one step and I'm directly writing. Basically you need to complete this one, and then you need to, in the next level, what you need to do? You need to make the remaining. Okay. Now let us use the procedure. Do not skip. It may take just 1 minute to write. Okay. And the next thing, what you need to do? You need to do this is now it is the third pivot entry. We made it 1. In this now in this column, all the other entries should become 0 except the pivot. There are no rows below the pivot element. There are only only rows are there only above the pivot element. So we should make these two entries are also 0, 3 and 1. Then what is the elementary operations we should do? The minus 3 times R3 plus R1 replaces R1, and then R3 plus R1 replaces, sorry, R3 plus R2 replaces R2. So what is the final metric you will get? What is the final metric you will get here after all this one? 0, 1, 0. This becomes 0 now. 0, 0, 1, and this becomes 0 now. And 0, 0, 0, and it is already 1. Now you can check whether it is in the row canonical form or not. It is already now it is in the row canonical form, and hence you can stop it. The procedure ends here. And in fact, for a given metric, there may be more than one echelon forms might be there, but for a given metric, there will be unique row canonical form. That is the advantage of row canonical form. There will be only unique row canonical form. One of the things. You can see that in the previous procedure also, whether you do forward first and then backward, or whether you do forward or backward both simultaneously, in both the cases, we received the same row canonical form. We received the same row canonical form. So this is where the elimination process ends. One elimination is called the Gaussian elimination, and the second one is called the Gauss-Jordan elimination. Okay, so all of you can practice by taking the many matrices on your own, or you can refer some textbooks which I have referred already, and practice the Gauss elimination process and the Gauss-Jordan elimination process both. Tomorrow we are going to see the applications of this elimination process. That is actually the most important thing. The applications of this Gaussian elimination and Gauss-Jordan elimination. That we will see tomorrow. I will wind up the section. Here. Sorry for taking additional 10 minutes, but I have to, in between the algorithm, I cannot stop it. So if if you have any doubts, you are most welcome. And I'm winding up the section now. Thank you all.